creators, Niamh here, and today I'm going to be doing a painting of this dog with PanPastels and colored pencils. So stick around and let's get started. Well, hey there, creators. So today I am doing the dog Shadow. That's his name, and he is a dog who has passed away, unfortunately, and this is for the owners of the dog. So I started out first putting a light layer of the blending powder that I normally use with the colored pencils, because colored pencils and PanPastels are friends. And this is not the first time I've used the PanPastels, but it is close to the first. And I'll tell you what, it just making the backgrounds with the PanPastels instead of the colored pencils is just so much faster. I mean, this background took me about 15-20 minutes, whereas if I was doing this in colored pencil, it would take me a day. It would take me a few hours, and that would be all the work I'd do in that day. And right now I'm using the colorless blender. Well, I was using the colorless blender. Now I'm using the white to make the background light, but I was using the colorless blender PanPastels to blend out some of those colors, the purple, red, and yellow. So the background, the owner said that she didn't really care what the background was, but I do know that her favorite colors are purple and red. So I really wanted to incorporate that and kind of have it blend out to that yellowy orange color up in the corner there. So yeah. So the circles in the background, that's what's called a bokeh background, and it's a common sort of technique or look that you get in photography or paintings, or film. Like the distance in the background, the light just it's so blurred out that it turns into just circles or like hexagons or something like that. And it seems like it's really easy to do, but it is a bit difficult because sometimes it can look like just straight up bubbles, and sometimes it does look like that. I mean, naturally even, but I think I've improved each time I've tried to do a bokeh background, and yeah. And right now I'm starting on the ears, and there's a lot of kind of peachy colors with some tannish browns in there and some yellows and a little bit of like a cream color, and then I'm blending that into a brown because the dog itself is black. So, you know, as you see the black over the peachy colors, you know, it's more of a brown. So that's the hair near the actual opening of the ear is brown, and then the rest is black, and then as you see there's blue in there, and that can be surprising, but blue is very, very common in black fur, black hair. It's certain lights hit it, and it's very, very blue, and I definitely wanted to highlight the blue a bit more in this because the background colors are the background colors are so warm, aside from the purple, which is a cool color, but in general, it's just there's the background is very warm, so I kind of wanted to put a lot of the cool blue colors in the dog, just to make it stand out more. So really, it's a lot of rainbow colors in the dog, because I was mentioning that there's a lot of blue in in a black fur, and that's absolutely true. But as you can see right here, I'm adding pinks and yellows and purples and yeah, and greens. It's, you know, it's a straight up rainbow. Like, the colors are just not, they're not flat, and because if they were, it would look flat. So yeah, so when you art is really all about observation, I think, you know, at least with when it comes to realism. It's really observing what colors are in our surroundings, and you'd be surprised how many colors are in a black dog. And because if I painted this straight up black or black and gray, you know, it wouldn't really look realistic. So adding those colors is what really makes the dog stand out, and yeah, make it look like a dog and look like it belongs in our world. So now I'm starting on the tongue here, and if you've seen my other dog portraits in the past, you know that the tongue is actually my favorite part, because it kind of makes the piece whole almost. You know, it makes the piece look finished, even if it's not finished. It just really makes it look like a dog. So I love doing the tongue part. And as you can tell from the picture, my reference photo there on the left on my phone, the tongue was actually so bright that it looked white. And I didn't want to do that with my painting. I wanted to make it not so bright, so I did make it more peachy and those colors. And that's really what art is. Even if you have a reference, it's once you're doing the painting, you're making it your own. You're adjusting things like that to make it look even better than the reference photo. So yeah, and some dogs have more of a purpley tongue, and some have a like bright pink tongue. And this dog, from what I could tell from the parts of the tongue that were not too bright, had a very peachy tongue. So I even added a little bit of yellow there, and a little bit of orange too to that tongue. So at one point I had this painting sitting on the easel, and I was had the camera behind me while I was working on the easel like I have in my past videos, but I had to switch back to laying it on the tabletop and positioning the camera on top because my easel broke. Yeah, when I was like halfway through this dog portrait, I was taking a picture of it with my camera phone, and I accidentally knocked over my other camera, my video camera, and it fell forward. The camera's totally fine, and it hit the easel and just like broke the easel, and so now I have a broken easel. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding in, I have to fix the background because I don't have any glassine, which is kind of this plastic paper thing you can put underneath your hand to protect the painting so that you're not smudging it. So what tends to happen when I do my artwork is I tend to have a lot of smudges after I'm done with the main focal point. So I do have to go in the background again and adjust any smudges, and it's, you know, color over those and get rid of them, and yeah. So that's what that was. And now I'm working on the foreground, and I'm trying to add in a lot more of a purple tone here, and some swirlies, and yeah. Okay, so here was a fun experiment for me. This is the touch-up texture and titanium white from Brush and Pencil, and it is the very first time I have ever used it. And yeah, and I put a little bit too much of the touch-up texture in there. It was too much, and there I made a big mistake. My first touch of the brush to the thing, it was just a huge glob of it, but I was able to fix that. And the great thing about the touch-up texture and the titanium white is that you can't, once it dries, you can go over it with the colored pencils, so it is fixable. And yeah, that was my main mistake, but you know, some of this was turning out way too white. You know, there's a lot of that in the opening there of the dog's mouth that's just way too bright. So I did have to go over it, kind of glaze over it with some colored pencil to kind of tone it down just a little bit so it's not so bright. But in other areas, I definitely wanted it to be very bright, especially like, you know, the dots in the eyes, some of the glistening, in just a little bit of the glistening in the mouth and the tongue, and just a tiny bit on the nose. And then I did go through and start highlighting some of the hair, which was way too bright, so I did go over that. I glazed over the hair a bit with some colored pencils just to tone it down just a little bit. But yeah, and there's my head. But yeah, and this, you know, I'm so glad to have this touch-up texture and titanium white, because it's a much better solution than using acrylic paint, because acrylic paint is really just not recommended to use with colored pencils, because it's not really archival. So the white can fade over time. So this is the perfect solution, because the touch-up texture and titanium white is light fast, it's archival. And here I'm putting some splatters, and I'm smudging out a lot of it because that was a bit too much splatter. But I mean, like I said, the great thing about that is I can go over it, which I did. And now I'm signing my name here, and I almost put 17 instead of 18. We all do that in the new year, don't we? Thanks for sticking around to the end. If you like what you see and you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and that bell notification icon, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. Later, creators.